Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Okay, welcome everyone to the Near Memo, episode 25, our silver anniversary. And as always, Mike and David are here with me, and we're going to be talking about the news of the week in the world of local social and small business commerce that we always talk about. And to everybody that's, well, I was going to say something about fires, but hopefully they'll go away soon. All right, there's my sentiment.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes, natural disasters abound these days.
Yes.
And unnatural ones.
My life is a mix of very, very strange juxtapositions, which I won't go into in detail. We're doing some remodeling at our house, and so I'm looking at kitchen countertops against the backdrop of the apocalypse. So it's like this weird society is collapsing, and should I have porcelain or granite for my countertops? That's the way my brain is working these days. So, all right. On that note, David.
Well, let's see if we can distract you for at least 15 minutes here with the Near Memo. So I'll dive in. Oh, Mike, you're trying to say something.
I was going to say that given that this is Greg's mood to start, I'm going to really work hard to be positive on the phone.
All right. Well, let me kick things off with a piece of news that, according to Mike, is not actually news, but Google did promote it this week in an announcement on their blog.google called The Keyword, which is the new review experience within Google Maps that apparently has been out for some people on Androids for quite a while, and they say is now rolling out to the iOS devices, which, of course, I'm not an Android user, so I haven't seen it. It was news to me. It's a very simple interface that's essentially more of a selection type of interface where they're asking specific questions about specific attributes of a business. And presumably these attributes tie in pretty well to the ones that have been displayed in Google Maps for quite a while. But my big takeaway from it is that Google is collecting much more structured data, even though they position this as a user experience improvement. And I think it flies directly in the face of Yelp's longstanding commitment to long form reviews and the fact that they think this is what users want to read and write. And Google here is taking the exact opposite approach which they've had on the reading side for quite a while now with these little sort of snippet attribute things, and they're now extending it into the user side of things. The box that says share more about your experience is about, 8% of the vertical height of the review interface. The rest of it is devoted to things that you can just tap to leave a very quick review about each of these more granular data attributes. So I just think it's kind of Google doubling down on quick and structured, and to the exact polar opposite of Yelp on long and unstructured. So certainly an interesting change, evolution from Google. I think it follows a trend that they've had for the last several years in Google Maps.
One thing about it is it gives them a structured sequence of information that works very well with machine learning because it can be reasoned about. So they know that the restaurant has this specific feature, and then they can answer queries with a high degree of confidence. Is this a cheap restaurant? Is it, kind of question. So in that sense, it gives them much better tools to drive against in terms of search results. But what I noticed in restaurants, which I thought was interesting, there was a lot of non-sentiment driven questions like price, for example.
Yep.
And I thought that was kind of unusual. I thought,
well, dine in, delivery,
right,
takeout,
which seem they don't. Maybe I suppose in terms of evaluating how good does a restaurant do at these different functions, maybe that's a way that they could take it, so you can see if the restaurant does all good or just part of it well or whatever.
One of the thoughts I had that I wondered about was how does this, or whether this translates into other verticals. I mean, I would imagine there are corresponding data points that you could formulate for a lot of different verticals. Hotels, for example,
Yep.
But
They're already doing it in hotels. They've been
yeah,
doing it.
does it get into in other service areas? Does it work equally well?
I think it does, right? In many, anyway, at least sort of more complex services. Like I can see it working very well in medicine, right? How long was your wait? How was the doctor's bedside manner? What treatment did you get? Blah, 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 blah. How, what insurance did they take? It seems like even in a category like that, which is, hopefully more of a, once a year or once a decade type of experience, that there's still this structured information that would be valuable to searchers and to Google.
And they did roll it out in April of the pandemic year in almost every other service category, lawyers and accountants and plumbers and roofers.
You're saying a comparable UI?
Yes, an attribute-driven faceted interface with 3 or 4 attributes that a user could choose from that we started scraping. And it's very nice because it's very structured. It allows you to do some really nice analysis over time and compare yourself to other competitors. It's a very useful thing because it's effectively a survey. So we brought it right in to gather up, and it's in all the. When I looked last, it was in 340 service categories.
So a quick point that kind of is a segue to you, Mike, in a way. Even though David, you were going to do the segue. The qualitative.
Happy to let you take it, Greg.
Okay, all right. Qualitative information can be very useful in many situations, especially in a more complicated transaction, a higher consideration purchase. So I was talking before we got on about buying solar panels, and I looked at all the reviews for the 4 vendors that we were choosing from among, and I read all the Yelp reviews and all the Google reviews, and some of the comments that were made were very, very interesting and helpful in helping us make a choice. And if I'd only seen stars, or if I'd only seen prices, it would not have been as useful to me in making a decision.
So what were your buying criteria for solar panels? Can you distill the things that helped make your decision?
Quality of service, the absence of complaints, particular complaints, the equipment that was being used, among other things. Those are the kind of top.
So 2 of those 3, it seems like Google could assess via survey. Equipment and quality.
Yes, but in one particular case, there were some problems with a subcontractor that was used, and so the subcontractor had a lien against the job, and so things like that don't come out in surveys, and that reflected on the service or the reliability, the credibility of one of the providers. Mm-hmm. So that kind of stuff wouldn't come out in a survey.
But the kinds of things they are currently asking for is timeliness, quality, professionalism in the services right now. So some of it
so you could probably handle like 80% of the issues in a structured data survey, probably.
Right.
That's assuming that you knew the reviewer.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.